I'm a happy, sort of normal person. I'm not sort of, I'm not neurotic. I'm not running for office. And I'm not in a popularity contest. Oh, I'm grand. I'm like the ordinary guy or woman who was given a chance to say what they really wanted to say. Most Irish people would love to have the opportunity to say what they really feel. And I identify with the mass of people who feel like that. And I enjoy what I do. I enjoy annoying vain people or annoying greedy people. I like that.
That's still a big running story, you know. I left a message on his mobile yesterday, but he didn't get back to us. To Bernard Connolly, if he comes back, right? It's Eamon Dunphy from The Last Word.
I'm calling from The Last Word, Eamon Dunphy's programme.
Is that an engaged sound for an English mobile? And it would be to... Is he?
Rory Wednesday from 6:30 to 7.
If we can get him, we'll be rocking.
And we didn't have a radio for a long time when I was growing up. I remember getting the first radio, and it was just the most amazing thing. It was as big as a telly, and it was just magic. I grew up in Richmond Road, and the house opposite Talca Park. It's a field now. It was a one-bedroom flat in an area that was full of houses. It was a curious kind of situation in that we were poor in a lower middle class community, so it stood out, as it were. It wasn't like as if everyone around had the same or lacked the same. So it was a bit odd in that regard. My mother was a fantastic woman. She was a country woman from Foynes, County Limerick. She was a mother, a home builder, and she was a great fighter because all the time we lived in that situation. It was a rented accommodation. There was a big house with only one room, really habitable, and the floods had come in the 50s and destroyed the lower half of the house. The landlord wanted to knock the house down, and the corporation wanted that as well because they wanted to offer my mother a flat in Ballybock, which was the inner city and flat land. And she was determined that we wouldn't go into that kind of environment. My father, he was working on building sites in the 40s and 50s, and he'd come actually from a family background in Kilkenny. He was a gentle sort of man. He was working as a builder's labourer, and the building industry was savage then. You know, there was wet time, broken time, where if it rained you didn't get paid. There was perpetual threat of unemployment, and indeed he was unemployed. He was a character too. He was a jolly, happy sort of fellow. He had his principles, and in those days the building industry for builders' labourers and indeed for other people was coloured by the fact of whether or not you were a member of Fianna Fáil mattered. His best friend actually was a common member of Fianna Fáil. They were best friends, but he was very anti-Fianna Fáil. He was a Jim Larkin man, you know. My mother was a devoutly religious woman, and my father, like most men, a little less so, but we said the rosary every night. We grew up with Christian values. We went to Mass every day, and I went to Mass every day with my mother until I left to go to England, actually. We used to go to St. Alphonsus Church in Drumconda every morning for 7 o'clock Mass. It was a wonderful experience.
Do you still go?
No, I don't, but I think I'll go back. But then, you know, lots of guys my age think I'll go back. I don't go because some of the churches are so awful. Some sometimes it'd be difficult to go. But I pray every day. I pray every night, and I think that's sufficient. And try to live, responsibly in terms of my children and my obligations.
So you do believe in God?
I do. I believe in goodness, and I believe in the Spirit of God. I believe in good and evil. I believe in. I mean, if I had a religion, I'd probably be closer to Buddhism than to Christianity. But I don't think there's great distinctions there. I believe all of goodness is in here, and I think that what you do, you are what you do. Went to a very good school, St. Patrick's National School in Drumcondra. We had a wonderful teacher, a man called Mr. Hayden, who was a Leitrim man, a kindly sort of man with wild grey hair, lovely man. And he was my teacher all the way. He had a profound influence on me, and he was a kindly person, and he understood that my circumstances were slightly different from other people's. And I was a good scholar as a result, a good student. I finished that school at 12, and I entered a few scholarship contests and didn't really win anything except a one-year scholarship to Sandymount High School, which was a co-educational school. And a one-year scholarship is kind of, in retrospect, very cruel but we took it and hoped that something would turn up, and I went there for a year and did very well, but after a year, that was it. I got a job as a messenger boy in Kevin and Howlands, which was a tweed shop, still there, in Nassau Street. And I was the messenger boy there when I was 13.
Did you have one of those big black bikes?
Yes. And I actually got knocked off it once by a priest in Drumcondra driving a car, but I survived. I got selected for the Irish schoolboy team when I was 15 and played against Wales in Cork, which was the first time I'd ever stayed away from home. And then I played against England in Talca Park. And on my 15th birthday in August 1960, I actually went to Manchester for a 2-week trial. Manchester United then, 2 years after the Munich air crash, they were a very glamorous club. They were the most famous football club in the world. And they had to pick of all the kids in Wales, England, Ireland, Scotland. So going for a trial was a bit like going for an audition in Hollywood in our eyes. You didn't really expect to succeed. But Matt Busby watched the trial match I played in, and he went away after 45 minutes, but I played really well in 45 minutes. I played way better than I would have expected to. And he decided to sign me, and they offered me a 2-year contract as an apprentice. In the end, I wasn't good enough to play in that great Manchester United side. They had a great side, and I was a skillful player, but I didn't have the physique and the power you need to be a really top-class player. When players were over at Old Trafford, he didn't like them going anywhere else and doing well, lest people say. John Giles is a classic example of that. John went to Leeds when they were in the second division and became a great player subsequently, and people said Busby shouldn't have made him. So he tended to bury people. He buried me in the fourth division with York City for a small fee at the time. And that was fine. That's the way it was. It was a tough world. I stayed in football until 1977, when I was about 33. I was struggling one year, and I said, well, I've got to use this year for something. So I'll record the struggle and try and tell the story of what being a professional player is like. Really like, as opposed to the glamorous myth that it's all wonderful.
While you were playing for Millwall as well, Bloody Sunday happened.
Yes, and it was a terrible thing because I was always interested in politics and interested in civic affairs or public affairs, so I was very conscious of what was happening in the north. I thought Irish people in England who are prominent should show solidarity with the victims of that, and I tried to organise for all the Irish players who were very prominent in the Irish community, both here and in England, to wear black armbands the next Saturday as a mark of respect for the victims and a mark of protest. They wouldn't do it. None of them would. So I wore my own black armband. And I'm playing for Millwall, which was it was my gesture. But it was fine. When I was, the players were fine, and the manager was fine, and the crowd were fine. They understood. I played for Ireland 23 times, but I have to say that a lot of those games were when John Giles was injured, and I was the first reserve. I mean, I wasn't good enough to be a top-class player, but I was a good journeyman player, and I played for Ireland. I was very proud to play for Ireland, although they were lean years for Ireland. I played 23 times. We only won 2 of those games. And John Giles often reminds me that the connection might be between my appearance and Ireland's long losing streak. There may be a connection there somewhere.
Somewhere along the line as well, you got married.
I got married, yes, in Manchester in 1965 to a Manchester girl, and we had 2 children together. And we separated in about 16 or 17 years ago now. But I continued to have a very close relationship with my children and indeed with my former wife. So it is a tragedy when that happens for the children and for the people. It's very painful, and it's something you don't recover from. But it's something that, with responsibility and goodwill, you can try and manage. I joined the Sunday Independent in 1984, or thereabouts.
Right, and Stevens together, Galvin pulling it across, missed kick by Sansom, in goes Aldridge, and Houghton! 1-0! And Jack Charlton cannot believe it!
I started writing about Jack Charlton when he arrived in 1986, and I knew Jack because John Giles and he had played together, and when he became the Irish manager we had quite a very good relationship, and we used to have a pint together, have a meal together, and that was fine for a couple of years. But then I think he believed that because we were acquainted and got on very well, that I wouldn't be critical of his team selection or his tactics or anything like that. So when I was, I think he was bitterly hurt and disappointed.
Well, I don't like him. And I don't have to work with people I don't like. I think he's a bitter little man.